Good evening, friends. The most awaited event is over. We have been waiting for budget to be presented, and there were a lot of expectation from the finance minister. In fact, there's a record that continuously no finance minister in the history has presented 7 budget at a stretch. And that's what Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman has done actually, and that's a new record that has been created for this. But there was a lot of expectation, because new government, new political equation. The BJP did not came out with the very strongly post-election in terms of number of seats it's won. And then we do have a 2 state going for election very soon. So there were a lot of expectations, a lot of desire, a lot of hope, a lot of fear, which was there. And eventually, the budget was presented. So today, I'm in front of you with a very crisp and very decisive analysis on the budget. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers, okay? Because our job is to give you the distilled information. What makes sense for you to take an informed decision about the economy or about the equity market. So I don't want to basically sound too much a academician and basically give you a lot of gyan which has no meaning at all for you or practical knowledge. But before I start my presentation on this, a small disclaimer that this webinar just to enhance your understanding about the budget analysis. Please consult your financial advisor before buying or selling any stock. Please note that past performance is no indicator of future returns, and investment securities are subject to market risk. Now, let me just give the context to what it was. What was expected in the budget? It was definitely expected that, this coalition politics, will come into play, and there would be some amount of a leeway to the state like Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. There was also expectation that government will do some populist measure to win election, which is coming up in Maharashtra, Jharkhand, and Haryana. That was the expectation. It was also expected that budget needs to take care of the little stress in the rural economy. And that also becomes a very formidable vote bank for the ruling party. Since RBI paid a record dividend, there were 2 things, that market was expecting, or it could be a combination of 2 things. One was that reduce the fiscal deficit, that more than 1 lakh crore, which has come excess over and above what was expected, and that's also spend more money on the infrastructure, and then also try to reduce the fiscal deficit so that your math basically becomes much better. And once that becomes better, there is a possibility that India can ask for a better rating from the rating agencies. Personal income tax, this has been a demand for quite some time purely because of the deduction or the tax bracket has been high as much as the inflation in the economy. And if that was so, it was needed. But at the same time, there was a fear that if you do too much on that front, it can basically result into a stalking inflation. If you know that while the US has seen that inflation number coming down, the latest one, in India it has moved up. And I don't know whether you happen to listen to the press conference which was done by Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, the complete Ministry of Finance. And when someone asked about the nominal GDP 10.5%, is it not too conservative? And then the answer was that 7%, the what we call real GDP, and plus 3% or 3.5% is the inflation, and that's how it basically 10.5% kind of a stuff, or 6.5 and 4. So I think that's one aspect which come out very clear, that we don't want to basically do something which can spur the inflation. There was a fine balance that FM had to do to spur the growth in the economy without disturbing the inflation, this one. So we'll discuss what government has been able to do. Generate more employment, manufacturing needs, basically, because if India has to really have a China plus 1 policy, if we really want to employ the youth of this country in a very meaningful manner, we wanted to do that. There was another expectation because RBI governor was concerned about, FD or the savings are basically getting diverted to the mutual fund, will there be a tax rebate for investing in the FD the way same we have a rebate when you invest in the ELSS scheme? So that was one expectation. There was also expectation because FNO, that FNO will have more some kind of a restriction or some kind of a higher taxes on them, and if that is so, in what form it comes, and of course tweak in the capital gain tax, and which we have been keep talking about quite some time. There was an expectation this will happen, and of course the overall expectation was that there is a consistency in the policy action. So what has been done so now, we don't have anything which become retrospectively. I must tell you, at one point of time, one of the leading tax consultant on a TV channel suggested that the change in the capital gain tax was done retrospectively. In the sense, it has been implemented from 1st April 2024. Just to clarify, not to get confuse you, there is nothing such like this. Whatever you basically sold till today is what, 23rd July? That becomes a part of your old long-term capital gain, and the new will come in from the 24th July 2024. So now this was the expectation. So let's try to understand what budget has been delivered. Very interesting thing, I did remember when I was my Zoom days, when I used to do webinar through Zoom, we need to do a live survey with our customers. That liberty or that freedom has gone away the moment we went to the YouTube. So what we did, we used the technology to ask our investors how have they perceived this budget. Unfortunately, 83% of our customers, Mojo PMS Markets Mojo customers, have said that they found this budget negative. 13% suggested neutral. Only 4% has said positive. So I think the majority of these people did not find this budget very exciting, our Markets Mojo customers. Now, the reason I'm sharing this data, because I wanted to send this context right, so that you, when I'm going to present and when I'm going to talk about how did I see the budget, how did I look at the announcement, you'll get the perspective in a better manner. So what I'm going to do is going to basically talk about what this government wants to do with the budget. What are the budget highlights? Again, it's a very distilled information, very crisp information. What makes sense for you to understand what's going to happen at the macro and in the market. I think one thing which government is really wanting to talk about, to take India to the developed economy status, Viksit Bharat 2047. And you look at the kind of announcement that government has done in this, these are some of the steps are very, very transformative that I've really found it. For example, unique land parcel, identification kind of a stuff. That is called Bhu Aadhaar. The way we have an Aadhaar for individually, they have this one. Then land records for the urban areas, which is the GIS mapping, that they talk about. They talk about, FDI and overseas investment simplified, so that, we can get more FDI coming into. Establishment of the land registry, and that's another thing which government wants to do that. That's another kind of a stuff that they did. What government also wants to do that, reduce the stamp duty on the real estate, and if you look at this manifesto of BJP, they did mention that, what we call, in the manifesto they talk about that stamp duty on the real estate is really very, very high, and they did that. So that they also announced that, they will, of course, stamp duty is a state level matter, and that will be they're done in consultation with this. And they want women to be given more concession. Like in Maharashtra, we do have 1 percentage point less stamp duty if the woman is the buyer of a real estate. But I think they want to proactively nudge states to reduce the stamp duty on that. I think they also talk about promoting that water supply, sewage treatment, and so on and so forth, so that India can become towards the developed economy. So I think there are many announcements that has been done in the budget which talks about, for example, setting up a Bharat small reactors that they want to do, because nuclear energy that they wanted to harness to basically reduce our focus more on the fossil fuels, so that we have a energy security. Even there's one more thing which they talk about, the critical thermal power plant, which BHEL and NTPC did it, and they are going to set it up for near about 800 megawatt, on a commercial basis, because India all these years has been basically getting this technology either from China or from some other places to have a supercritical power plant. So I think that's one thing which government talked about in the budget. So overall, basically, we don't want to remain a developing economy. We want to become a developed economy. And if we want to move to a developed economy, this government has done a right steps to ensure that. So it's a work in progress. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen by one budget. We need a series of steps. This is the first step, but not the last step. Okay? And this is what the government basically wants to. And I think I really appreciate what Finance Ministry did, or Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman did, to take the right steps. So sometimes what looks not so very exciting in a short term, but it's very, very exciting for the long-term point of view. Another thing which that basically this government wants it to do is a ease of doing business. And if you look at this compliance side of it, I think the government wants to basically reduce more and more, like for example, very simple, like land registry or, the Aadhaar, Bhumi Aadhaar, these are a step in the right direction. Like for example, they talk about that how many years go, your assessment can be opened by the income tax officer and so on and so forth. So they want to basically focus on the ease of doing business. So I think that's another, because see, if India was to really move towards the Viksit Bharat, you basically reduce the compliance and the ease of doing business. Because more you put compulsions, more it's going to create it basically takes away that energy and the will to do something to do this. For example, removing angel tax I think is one of the way to doing ease of compliance. Reducing the tax on the foreign companies from 40 to 35% is another part of ease of doing business. Or like 20 lakhs assets outside India not reported will not be considered black money. So I think they want to reduce more and more compliance. In fact, one other thing which I really like and which I'm going to talk about is that the compliance becomes more what we call problem when you have too many exemptions in the life, because then you need to take care of this exemption and that exemption, whether it's happened or not. The moment you make a structure a little neat and clean, then it reduces your compliance burden, because you don't have to submit any proof and so on and so forth, which I'll touch upon a little later also when I come to the personal income tax side. Focus on employment, and I think this is one portion I wanted to happen today when I was also in on the CNBC Bazaar. I think government, and I did mention that this is the one area that government is going to put a lot of stuff on that. Now, if you look at it, this government came out with a lot of announcement. For example, that someone is becoming getting a new job, okay, they will get 1 month, kind of a 1 month wage. They will get it, and this 1 month wage will get credited to the in the 3 installment up to 15,000 to the employee account. For example, if it is 15,000 taka, in 3 installment 5,000 will come, kind of a stuff. They also basically talking about internship with the top BSE top 500 companies, where the employee can be given an internship. They will get paid also. For example, EPFO money, which the company has been paying, which can they get reimbursement actually by the government. So I think they are doing so many things. Basically, they wanted to basically also the skilling program. They want to need about 20 lakh employee will be what called skilled in our next 5 years. That is on an average 4 lakh new youth will be employed. 1,000 industrial training institute will be upgraded to hub and spoke model, so that more and more the scholars or the youth, when they come out of the college or the school, they are basically eligible or they are suitable for the job, kind of a stuff. So I think this government, and also this I was talking about that the top 500 companies in the country, that 1 year you will have to have a internship, where 5,000 rupees will be given to the what we call allowance of 5,000 will be given, and also the 10% of that amount that will be spent by the company to pay this internship of the CSR budget can be allocated from the 10% of the CSR budget can be allocated for this kind of stuff. So I think government want to basically, because if you remember, the unemployment was one major concern that government wanted to address, and I think with a very sincere attempt this budget has been made to do that. Another thing, I think government some way, in a way, trying to suggest to us, and if you read yesterday's economy survey also, which clearly stated that a lot of money is going to the financial assets, and I think, and the economy survey did mention about the crisis that happened in the developed economy in terms of global financial crisis that happened, that hit us in 2007, 2008, or the Asian financial crisis that happened in 96, 97. I think government in a way want us to move more towards the real estate and gold, and I'll explain you why. On one hand, they've increased the capital gain, long-term capital and short-term capital gain equity. It's not that it's only increased for them, but it's increased for everyone. Second thing they did is that they've removed the real estate the capital gain 20% to 12.5%. Of course, the cost of index has gone down, and I'll explain you with example also in later part of our presentation. The gold, which I was surprised, all these years government has been saying we want to discourage gold import, so on and so forth. Now the import duty has been brought down almost to half, and due to that, almost we will have 5,000 to 6,000 rupees reduction in the gold prices because of this reduction in the custom duty. So I think government somewhere in a way sending a message that enough of financial assets saving has been done. I think it's not something which is productive, and of course that was said not only by Govt but also by the SEBI chairperson. So somewhere the message is coming out very clearly because we want to encourage other assets class also, both physical assets, because real estate and gold both are physical assets as compared to financial assets, which is a little change in the policy stand of the government purely because of the way market has become more and more rich. That's a message. Coalition compulsion, if you remember, I was fearing, and that really happened. Bihar and Andhra Pradesh has given a lot of soap, and I think this will continue whether we like it or not. So I don't think this is the only budget where we will see more and more. Now, how do you need to play as an investor? Very simple. There could be more infrastructure projects taking place. So those who are catering to that segment of that region of the country, I think they will get more benefit in terms of more consumption of steel, more consumption of cement, more activity for the commercial vehicles, because you would need, if there is a more activity, you would need more commercial vehicles to take the goods and services from one place to another, and so on and so forth. So maybe you can focus that, and this is not a one-year event. Am I right? This will keep happening because this government need support of alliance partners, and alliance partners from Bihar and AP are there. So my sense is that this will benefit. Again, digital clear-cut information, so that use this information you can use in your macros and investment world. Infra spending, and I think so there is no change in what interim budget has said. 11.11 lakh crore, and again in this budget it's 11.11 lakh crore, which works out to what, 3.4% of the GDP, if my memory serves me. Yeah, 3.4% of the GDP. That's what is there. Now I was expecting that government may basically increase this allocation. Why? Because they got record dividend from the RBI. They did not do that. I think one school of thought suggests that it does not merit. Why? Because we only have 6 more months for the next budget, and even if you do, and the first 3-4 months of this financial year, the infra spend has not too much because of the election and so on and so forth. So there was no point increasing the what we call increasing the allocation, and then you are not able to spend. That's a fair point. I do see a merit in that discussion. But I think my worry is not the infra spend. Okay, my worry is not the allocation. My worry is on the infra spend. We all know that, and of course, in one of my future trend analysis also we discuss about the number of road constructed, number of kilometers road been constructed. It's coming down. So on one hand, our allocations are going up, but the money is not being spent. And in fact, yesterday I was reading one con call of one of the railway companies. The company is not only to railway, they extend to other businesses also. But that company is saying that we are going to degrow in this financial year, that is FY 2025, by 15% in the railway segment. And I was surprised if on one hand, so I think the problem is happening that while you announce this, you don't give the company to execute the project. For example, you are laying a what we call or improving the signaling system, or you are basically improving the power lines for the railway. You need to give the time to implement that project. For that means you need to basically stop railway activity for 15 hours, 18 hours, so that these people can execute everything. And they are saying we are not been getting time only to do that actually. So how are we supposed to? On one hand, you can't stop the railway activity, and if that's not possible, how are you going to? I think the more focus, I think this budget, even though they will increase the allocation from interim budget, I think I'll be very closely watching on what actually gets being spent on the ground level. If they are not able to spend that money, there is no point in having allocation and not being spent. So I think that's one thing that we'll be focusing on. F&O trade to become more expensive purely because of they've increased the what we call STT on both futures and options. So what has happened on the futures and option is that what was the rate previously on the future, the STT was 0.01%. It was 0.125% to be very precise. It's gone to now 0.02%. On options, 0.06% is increased to 0.1%. Is it going to make material change? The answer is no. But I don't think this is the only change that F&O side has happened. We should expect in the next coming few days or maybe few weeks more announcement on the F&O front. Clear message is coming out. We are not happy with the lot of activity happening in the F&O segment. Please be ready for more restrictions coming or becoming more disincentive for someone to trade in the F&O side. Now there is a lot of confusion in the people's mind that is it going to get implemented from today, that is 23rd July, and if that is so, how the brokers are going to raise the bill. The government has clarified that this will be applicable from 1st October 2024. So this new STT on the F&O will be applicable from 1st October 2024 and not immediate effect. So I think let me clarify that. What has come as a surprise to me that every year government used to give disinvestment target, and market was looking forward to the disinvestment target very closely. This time they have not given any disinvestment, and I was surprised. One reason could be that if they have given more target for disinvestment, the market would have sensed that some of the PSUs companies where they would come for dilution of the equity from the supply will come from the government, and hence the price will come down. So I think to stem that fear or to take care of that fear, government has not given disinvestment target. For what they've given in the budget document is that 50,000 crore, the miscellaneous receipt, capital receipt. Now that includes your disinvestment also, that includes your monetization of assets also, and so on and so forth. So one doesn't have a clear-cut disinvestment. That's a really big deviation that government has done from previous budgets. And only plausible answer I can think is because they did not want to spoil the market sentiment. I think this government is sending a very loud and clear message to every one of us. Ease of doing business, which I was talking about, ease of compliance, I think they want to encourage more and more people to go for new tax regime. Why they are saying so? Because, when you have a structure which is very neat and clean, कि कोई exemption मिलेगा नहीं, इतना income है, इतना tax है, simple. So the complete process becomes very quick and very fast. And I think this is what government has been doing. And those who have actually filed the income tax return based on the new tax regime, they must have got refund also in case if they filed the refund also. So, my wife basically filed income tax return, maybe, I'm just giving an example, 1 week back, she got her refund a couple of days back. So that's a kind of a stuff they are saying. So government, I think somewhere want to encourage all of us to move toward a new tax regime. And I think that's not only for the personal income tax, even for the corporate, I think they are saying the same thing that, the less deduction you ask for, let do away with the tax. And one of the reasons why I believe fixed deposit has not been given any kind of a relaxation despite CASA deposits are coming down, the deposit growth has been going down because they did not want to encourage now go into this, that, and of course the government did mention that, next 6 months, they will going to transform, they are going to revisit some of the tax measures to come out with the new measures so that we have a more and more compliance. So I think the new tax regime, and if you look at the tax concession which has been made, it has been made only for the new tax regime. It has not been offered to the old. What is the old tax regime? Just for the simplicity and making understanding of other people. So suppose if you are claiming any deduction under ATC, or if you are claiming an HRA, or you are claiming some ATD, BEDI claim, and so on and so forth, then if you claim those or PPF amount and so on and so forth, then you fall under old tax regime. In the new tax regime, you, even though you have paid PPF, you have paid invested in ELSS, you have paid this one, you still cannot claim that, So that's how. So what this government did, they basically increased to 3 lakhs remains 3 lakhs. There is no change in that bucket. But 3 to 6 lakhs, which used to previously attract 5%, has become now 3 to 7 lakhs. So the 1 lakh benefit has come there. Okay. Previously 6 to 9 lakhs used to get 10%. Now 7 to 10 lakhs has become 10%. If you want, you can take a photo of this, or you can take a screenshot of this so that you remember in future. You remember 9 to 12 lakhs used to be 12%. Now that 9 to 12 lakhs become 10 to 12 lakhs become 15%. So where the changes happen in this bucket, mainly 7 to 10 lakhs kind of a stuff, and which will flow down to this one. And then post 12 lakhs, the tax regime remains the same. So I must tell you that if you are a salaried employee, okay, and if you are earning maybe even 11 lakhs, your tax incidence would be less than 10%, which I believe is a very fair kind of a total saving because of this is now near about 17,500 that the investor, the taxpayer will get. It's not very substantial if you ask me very honestly, because it works out to near about 1,500 per month kind of a stuff, which is not very substantial to spur the consumption cycle. But nonetheless, this has been benefit. But I think the message is coming out very clearly कि ज़्यादा simplicity पे आ जाओ, compliance become easy. Now that's not only on the what we call personal income tax. If you look at this, capital gain on the real estate, again they want to do away with this cost of indexation and so on and so forth. What they did now in this, that previously your capital gain would have actually attracted real estate 20%, but you were eligible for the cost of indexation. Now government is saying there is no cost of indexation now. Today, if you sell, from today onwards, all real estate sale will attract 12.5%. So just to help you understand how does it work now, I've just taken an example so that you people can get an idea. So suppose you bought a house in 2002 for 100 rupees. Now you say 100 rupees kuch aata nahi hai, but this is for the simplicity. Now you say 100 is 100 lakhs, just to this one. So one is that you bought the cost remains the same whether you basically go for the new or the old or the new tax regime of the capital gain. You sold that house for 300 rupees. Okay. Now there is no cost of indexation in the new tax regime which has been proposed today, but there is a cost of indexation in the old, and based on that cost of indexation, the value of your cost, the house become 363. Since you sold for 300. You are basically not making money. You are not supposed to pay any capital gain. Why? Because the cost of indexation means that your house of your cost after adjusting for inflation we went to 363, but you sold only 300 rupees. That means you actually incurred a loss, and that's a tax on that gain is 0 rupees. But now in the new regime, that your capital gain is 200 rupees. In other words, you will pay 25 rupees as a capital gain. But now change this. This is you bought a house in 2002. Suppose you change this, assume that you bought that house in 2014. 100 rupees, 100 rupees, 300 rupees, 300, everything remains same. But the cost of indexation based on the income tax provided, it becomes 165. In that means your capital gain is 135. Why 135? 300 minus 165. Here 200 rupees. Am I right? And here you pay more taxes of 27 rupees tax on that versus 25 rupees. So that means you would have saved 2 rupees by moving to this. Now remember, these numbers will keep changing based on their capital gain tax and what is the appreciation of the property. If the appreciation of the property is less than the cost of indexation, then you are better in the old tax regime. But the appreciation is much higher in the what we call as the cost of indexation, the new tax regime is much better. Why? Because then you are paying only 12.5%. So this equation will undergo change depending upon when did you buy the house, and number two, what price you sold that house. If I put this 500 rupees here, the equation would have undergone change. Why? Because then I would have paid more tax on that. Am I right? So remember, there is no straight answer whether the old is better or the new is better. It's all depending upon which tax regime, when did you basically bought the house, and what is the appreciation in that. Again, just to simplify, to make you understand, if the appreciation is much higher than the cost of indexation, that's inflation, the new regime is better. But appreciation of the house is lower than the inflation, the old was the better. Why? Because you are getting 20% rebate on that. So that's a very simple equation that you need to remember in your mind. Very quickly, I'll talk about what are the budget, where the money being spent. The defense continues with the major item, followed by rural development, then agriculture, then home affairs, education, IT, telecom, and health. So that gives an idea where is the focus of this government. If you look at the revenue projections, I'm a little surprised, to be honest with you. The government expects 12% growth in the corporate tax. If you have not changed the tax structure, and if your GDP is going to grow 10.5% nominal, why would you assume 12% as a corporate tax? I believe this time government has gone a little overhead on that. Even taxes on income is 13.6%, and that's fair enough to do that. Why? Because you increase your capital gain tax from 15 to 20%. So more people will pay tax on the short-term capital gain. You have increased the long-term capital gain from 10 to 12.5%. So more money will come, and that's what will happen. So that's where I think in GST 11% I believe is a fair. Remember the first 3 months of 2024, FY 2025, we did not see, I don't think we see a double-digit growth, So even there, I believe, is little on a higher side. I'll be a little surprised. So I personally believe this 10.8% right now revenue projection, according to me, is little on a higher side. And I'll basically closely watch these numbers. If you remember the June numbers that has come out, the results have started coming out. We don't see that kind of a growth happening in the India Inc. And if that's not happening, should we expect 12% growth in the corporate tax, or should we expect 11% growth in the GST? I think it's an area of this one. Again, no decision on a target. Every year they used to give target. In fact, what surprised me is that in the interim budget, they gave a target of 51,000 crore, and suddenly they stopped. Which really surprised me on that way. Subsidy, I think, is more or less same what was announced in the interim budget has been there in the today's budget also. So there is no head where whether it's a Manrega, whether it's a food subsidy, whether it's a fertilizer subsidy, or the subsidy. I think there is no change that happened. So even though you look at it, it's higher than what it was the previous year, but I think the subsidy amount from the interim budget has not gone up or gone down, and that's a good thing to happen. Deficit target has been definitely revised. In the interim budget, it was expected 5.1%. Now we have been targeting 4.9%, purely because of record dividend coming in from the RBI. Revenue deficit will go down from 2 to 1.8%. Primary deficit from 1.5 to 1.4. Tax revenue 11.7 to 11.8, which I talked about. Non-tax revenue from 1.2 to 1.7. And central government debt as a percent of GDP, which some of you customers always been asking, which will come down from 57.2 to 55.6. I think India is in a very comfortable position in terms of debt to GDP. Fiscal deficit again came down from 9.2 to 4.9. Wonderful job. COVID basically took us from 3.4 to 4.6 to 9.2, and the trajectory is coming down to 4.9. And I think we do have ambitions to go to 4.5% in the next financial year. So in that sense, I think we are moving in the right direction, and that the trajectory seems to be the fine. And if that happens, I think India do have a chance of rating upgrade. Where does the money comes and where does the money go? The maximum money comes from the borrowings, followed by the income tax that you and me pay. Then come the GST and other taxes, then the corporate tax, and then miscellaneous and other things, actually, isn't it? So that's where the money comes for the government to basically spend. And where does this money get spent? Purely because of if you look at the highest amount, the money goes to the state taxes pay that say that they need to give, then the interest payment. And if we can control this, that money can be available for more productive assets. Interest payment is a productive to some extent, but not beyond something. And I think Finance Minister did mention that our borrowings as a percent of GDP will coming down. And if this coming down and the rate of interest remain little low, I think this interest payment burden will keep decreasing, which will really help India to spend money where it is due. How did the market behave because of budget today? Of course, the market was not in a it was completely yo-yo market. At one point of time, the market was more than 1% down for Sensex and Nifty and more than 2% for small cap and mid cap. And we did recover. I don't know why it recovered. To be very honest with you, there was no reason to recover. But anyway, the market recovered, that's a fact. FMCG and consumption really moved up purely because I explained to you, more money, more employment, more focus on the real economy. That really helped us. But the small cap and mid cap did underperform as compared to the large cap. If you look at the PSU bank, down by 1.4, the PSU sector is down by 1.4, and the realty sector is down by 2.3%, purely because of this change in the capital gain tax that has been announced. And of course, the stamp duty is very positive for the real estate sector, to be very frank with you. Why? Because they are going to nudge, and if the cost of purchase comes down, I think it should eventually it should benefit a real estate sector. Which are the company that moved up? Titan moved up 6.5%, purely because of the reduction in the what we call the custom duty on gold import. There is an expectation that 560 to 590 rupees per gram, which comes out to 10 gram tola पे 5,900 6,000 तो approximately 6,000 रुपये का फर्क पड़ा. And that means and we have seen that when the price of gold goes up, less people go to the jewelry shop, and if the price comes down, people more, because they become more affordable, and they basically ITC because of no negative news, Tata Consumer purely because of consumption basket, so and so forth. And on the other end, the company that did see a decline like Sriram Finance, I don't know, because logically that should do well because they are more focused on the rural economy, should that. But infra spend 3.1%, I think that's where the market did not like it, and large and overall, despite, because there is no increased allocation to 11.1 lakh crore. And I think there is a sense market is getting that even to 11 lakh crore has been set up, the time period to execute that may not be good enough to spend that kind of a money. So that's a real budget to budget, that is from 1st February 2023. So main budget to main budget, realty sector did extremely well, PSU stocks did extremely well, mid cap up by 92%, small cap up by 92%, and the worst performing from last year full budget to this year full budget is the banks, Nifty Bank and Nifty Finance, and maybe the bank Nifty IT. Most probably when I come in front of you on 1st Feb 2025, because that's the day when the new budget will be presented, I think the underperform may be the outperformer from budget to budget. So what should be a strategy? See, based on this budget, nothing has changed from the investor's point of view, if you ask me, except that capital gain has gone up. But otherwise, nothing has, of course, India was supposed to be developed economy, progress, that's what is happening. There is no change in the policy strength, there is no change on so I think government intention and government actions both are aligned. So from the market point of view, there is nothing much change except that you need to pay, you and me both need to pay now higher capital gain tax. I think budget definitely laid down a more strong foundation. We do expect more FPI and FDI money to come in. I'm not saying that's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, but it will eventually come. And in fact, that foreign companies, tax, corporate tax from 40 to 35% is a good move. They want to encourage more and more FDI coming in, so the compliance related things has been really reduced. I think it's a very good thing to do that. Government focus on employment, high income definitely mean more demand for goods and services. That's what exactly we saw. Consumption and the FMCG index going up, which clearly says that the consumer facing business should do well. Why? Because the more money with the consumer, that means more demand for goods and services. Tourism is one sector I think we all must not ignore. I again repeat, tourism is one sector which one we should not ignore. I think government has clearly spell out a message loud and clear. It generates employment, it generates forex for us, and it just helps us to create more and more, the put the India on a global map. So I think, and it becomes a brand ambassador also. So tourism, the way we have seen defense and the railway doing very well, I would not be surprised the next sector that could be leading from the front could be tourism. There is one message which is coming out very clearly, whether we like it or not. Do not expect long-term capital gain to settle at 12.5%. It will go up by 1st Feb 2025. And as and when the budget will come, I think the government, and rightly so, government wanted to increase this tax in a gradual manner. So they increased from 12.5 to 15, short-term gain 15 to 20. But I think eventually the short-term capital gain can become at the personal income tax level, or the long-term capital gain tax may get settled at 15%, maybe 20%. Eventually, that's what my sense I am getting. This is my personal opinion. It may or may not happen, but that's what my this one. The valuations of Indian market are rich, and I think that clearly means that do not expect too much upside from this market. Again, when I said I was surprised when the market recovered, purely because there is nothing changed which for a market to basically get really recover from the low of the today. Am I right? And the valuation were rich and are rich. So why is basically market should have rebounded and pared some of the losses? So I don't understand that. There's another data which basically I want everyone to look at it. Is that if you look at the 1 month post-budget movement, whether it's a large cap, mid cap, or small cap, I think everywhere the things doesn't look very simple, very exciting. Why am I saying so? If you look at the 7 times the BSE small cap declined post 1 month from the budget date. Something similar trend has been observed with the BSE mid cap also, which is near about 6 times. And if you look at the large cap also is near about 6 times. So more number of times the market post 1 month budget moves up. Now there is one more data point I wanted you to look at it. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but probability it can happen is very high, is basically 2019, which was again an election year. And the budget was presented on 5th July 2019. And look at this data. Can you look at it? The Nifty was down by 8%. BSE mid cap was down by 9%, and the BSE small cap was down by 13%, and that was again an election year. So possibility is very high. It can happen. If you remember 2018, when the long-term capital gain came into existence, because it was free, the market went down by 5%, 6% Nifty 50, mid cap index 5.6, and BSE small cap 4.3%. So there is a high probability that market may. The trend suggests that market normally goes down post budget, and with the valuation so high, there is it just affirms, or it basically it increases the probability that market may come down post 1 month. So maybe if I have to come in front of you on 23rd August, probability is very high that Nifty, Sensex, BSE mid cap and BSE small cap is lower than what level that we are. Sectors to watch out. Definitely tourism. I think that's one sector is a top of the cycle. I think top of the peak that we should not ignore at this point of time. And when I say tourism does not mean it only hotels. Any business which related to tourism, one should look at very, very closely. FMCG should do well purely because of focus on rural economy, focus on consumption, putting more money in the hands of the consumer. That's going to really definitely help FMCG. And if you look at today also, FMCG did well. Infra companies purely because today, of course, they have taken a decline, but I think government wants to become a developed economy. They will keep putting more focus on infra, and that should play out. Pharmaceutical, again, purely because India wanted to be the pharmaceutical pharmacy of the world, that should do well. And agri-related businesses. Why? Because the monsoon is good. The first paragraph or the first speech, the first point was on the agriculture, and I think government wants to do a lot of stuff on the agriculture, whether it's the cold storage, whether they're reducing the what we call the distance to travel from the vegetables from one place to another. So place where you consume might as well you grow and so on and so forth. They talk about, the natural farming. They talk about creating the weather resistance crop and so on and so forth. So I think this is all going to create a huge opportunity. So don't again get narrowed down on that only the limited view of agrochemical or fertilizer. I think this government wants to do the complete ecosystem related to the agri related, whether it's a cold storage, whether it's a putting a drone to make this farming much more efficient and so on and so forth. So I think it's not, don't get restricted, don't narrow down on this one. I think you need to basically see what are the opportunities that's going to come up, and I think this business could suit also those who are basically supplying products and services related to the agriculture. I think they are going to do a wonderful job in the next few years or so. So with this, let's open the floor. I know you will have more questions today because of budget, but I'll be more than happy to answer each one of them. Over to you, Amir. Vijit Mohanty, Jai Jagannath, Vijit ji. It is saddening to say that compliance, direct taxes and indirect taxes are on a rise. Now on property sales, it is double whammy, tax increase and indexation removed. Is the government silently promoting the idea of leaving the country and move to tax haven? Don't you feel it is little unfair? What is the next? Indirect tax or maybe the honking tax? Honking will surely make our roads silent. So Avijit ji, yes, you are sounding too negative, but it is not so negative. And let me tell you that they did mention about this, what we call the tourism. They did mention about the Orissa as a one thing which they talk about, that how they want to develop Orissa as a since you are from Orissa, I must tell you that they want to develop tourism in the Orissa, and there are so many places where they want to do it. So I think Orissa is one thing which state which will also get benefit, and they did mention about that in the budget. But coming back to your, so they said assistance to development of Odisha scenic beauty, temples, monuments, craftsmanship, wildlife sanctuary, nature landscape, pristine beaches, making it ultimate tourism destination. So मैं आपको एक बोल देता हूँ अभिजीत जी, don't look at so narrow manner, okay? Because the kind of money that's going to come into the Odisha now in tourism, I think is going to be developing very, very fast. So if you have a land or something, okay, I'm giving you some gyan today. So I don't normally talk about other than talk, but I think the Odisha, the tourism will flourish, and those who have a land, those who are very closer to this heritage places, monument, beaches, I think the land price will go substantial. Something which has happened in Ayodhya, something similar will happen, Avijit ji. And I think you have something related to the land related business only. So I think you will get the benefit. Coming back to your, see, compliances are coming down. I think it's, let's try to understand that government, so they want to remove that exemption only. The problem of exemption when you give exemption, whether that exemption is right, you need to see that basically increase the compliance on the taxpayer also. When you have a simple structure, you are not claiming an exemption. You got income, someone is credited TDS on that, you pay tax, khatam ho gayi baat. So on the contrary, I believe on compliance side, government wants to do it. I agree with you that yes, and even in what we call properties, in fact, I shown you that example of property, am I right? It's not necessarily that new tax regime is bad, provided when do you sell and what price you get it. So if you look at it, let me take you with this another example. For example, this 100 rupees, 300 rupees, the old was getting you 27 rupees. In new tax regime, you will pay actually 25 rupees only. So basically you save 2 rupees on this. Of course, this 2 rupees could be 2 lakhs, it could be 2 crore depending upon the 100. So basically what you are getting, you are saving almost, of course, percentage would not be fair. Why? Because depending on, suppose this becomes a, so it's basically what I'm to say is that new capital gain tax on real estate per se is not bad. So don't get confused कि वो नया capital tax आया तो आपके लिए खराब है real estate के लिए. Now, and the second thing is, do you want to go to tax haven? बस क्यों Hindustan, India is going to grow very handsomely. India is in the path to become a developed economy. And if that is so, थोड़ा पैसा दे दो, टैक्स अगर देना भी है तो, but enjoy the fruits of the development. I think India would be one of the fastest growing, and the kind of growth opportunity as an entrepreneur, as an employee that we all will have is unbelievable. मैं आपको बोलता हूँ जो ग्रोथ अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडिया में है वो कहीं पे भी बाहर नहीं है. सो डोंट लीव कंट्री, एंजॉय. In fact, on the contrary, you are not going to pay more tax also. So that's a wrong assumptions to make unless there is a little different kind of a capital that you get. As I told you, if your inflation is your capital, the appreciation is much higher than the cost of indexation, then you would have paid higher. Then you would have paid higher taxes in the what we call the old regime. Am I right? In the new regime, you will pay less taxes. Why? Because आपका price बहुत बढ़ गया and आपको cost of finance इतना ज़्यादा नहीं मिलता था, and then you are still paying only 12.5% on that capital gain. So that's the equation that you should look at it. Suhas from Pune, do you feel now new debt funds and mutual funds become attractive since taxation in line with equity? Secondly, real estate stocks are down today due to abolition of indexation and reduction tax from 20 to 25. But what is the exact gain to the government in this? I think the government is basically doing a simplification of tax. Nothing that. I think they want to bring everyone at the par. The only thing the government not done, and in fact I forgot to touch upon that, the capital gain on equity remains long term is still remain as a 12 months only. They have not increased. They have tweaked with that. Eventually that will get tweaked, don't worry. But right now it's continue to remain 12 months only. So idea is to simplify the tax structure. And you are saying, do you feel that debt funds and of mutual fund become attractive since indexation in line with the equity? So there is no indexation now. There is no indexation across anyone. So you pay 12.5% if it is more than 12. So in that sense, yes. But it's also a function of what is the gain that we are expecting on the debt funds and on the equity. It's a function of, so I think tax is one angle, but I think you also look at it, what is my post-tax return that I can expect on debt funds and what is the post-tax returns I can expect on equity. It's a function of that. So if equity market is going to do well, then why would you basically park your funds in debt funds, even though the tax has come down, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference there. Anil is saying, thanks for your insight and view on the budget. Is it equity and real estate holding period now at par? Yes. No, sorry. Equity continues to remain a 1 year period for the equity. But all other assets other than equity, I think they become a 2 years. So, for example, it says very clearly, listed financial assets held for more than a year will be classified as a long term. But all other assets, which are non-listed financial assets or physical assets, they are 2 years. So while 12.5% remains standard, whether it's a listed or non-listed, but the definition to define long term is 12 months, still continues to remain 12 months for the equity. For other, it has become 24 months. Just to clarify, I think someone raised a question on that. I think Suhas actually. So I stand corrected. What it says, the budget speech says that unlisted bonds and debentures, debt mutual funds, and market-linked debentures, irrespective of the holding period, will attract tax on capital gain at applicable rates. That means it will be applicable to your PIT. That's what my understanding. If any chartered accountant is here, please practicing that, they basically clarify. I think my sense is that it will attract at your personal income tax, not at the 12.5% tax rate. That's what my understanding is. Gauri Sankar is saying, as per your opinion, this budget is rated as a good, neutral, poor from market point of view. After budget, which sector should more focus for investment point of view? What could be a strategy after this budget? Invest, book profit, or do nothing? So I think this budget I would rate as a good, because it taking economy in the right direction. Sometimes everyone want instant gratification. That doesn't happen in real life, isn't it? So it's a good budget. I would not say it's an excellent budget, and you did never put that as an option. So it's a good budget, in line continuation of what government intends to do to take India a Viksit Bharat. The policy actions are very consistent in what it has been. So I think that's a very good. Which sectors should do well? I've mentioned about that, so I don't want to repeat for the sake of repeating. And what could be a strategy in budget? I think the strategies remain the same. There is nothing undergoes change from the valuations are reached. So you need to be really very very careful. And sector rotation is the name of the game, which was happening before budget. It will happen post budget also. So remember, while the short term looks little challenging for the equity investors, medium to long term outlook looks extremely good. And if one should never come to the equity market with 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year point of view, right? So if your view is long term, I think remain invested. If market dips, use that as an opportunity to increase your allocation to equity, but don't leave the equity market. Even in our PMS, we are fully invested except 10% in liquid funds. Otherwise, we have 90% we have invested. Why? Because we believe that equity over a longer period of time is going to give a beautiful returns to the investors. So one way to play this strategy is that look at those sectors which are going to get more benefit. Like as I was talking about, tourism looks to be extremely promising post the budget. What about the STCG tax? So there is no retrospective tax. It will all happen from the today's, I think that's what my understanding, Vinodji. But there is nothing called retrospective. So let me clarify, there is nothing called 1st April. Whatever will be retrospective only, not from 31st, from 1st April. So whatever you sold till now will continue to come at 15% only. It will not go to 20%. Whatever you sell in future, and if it is short term, then it will be 20%. Ananti Singh, you are sounding like an Indian business leader. Sir, are you giving me a compliment or you are basically a little backhanded compliment? I don't know what is it actually. But anyway, I'll take it in the right spirit. Thanks a lot, sir. See, my job is to guide investors. What is good for them, what I believe. I basically express my view without any fear. And that's exactly what I have been doing for many, many years, and I'll keep continuing doing that. So because of that, do I sound like an Indian business leader? So be it. But that's what exactly I do that. Jacob Joshi says it is a negative budget for middle class, salaried, aspirational class and such investors. Good for big businesses owners and some part of bottom of the pyramid. No analyst commentator will say this on public platforms to look good. Curious if you have any frank opinion on this. Jacob sir, I am one person who would never get afraid to call spade a spade, okay? And that I've demonstrated not once, but time and again. But just for the sake of criticizing, should I criticize? That also I will not do that. I did mention that I was a little surprised that why did they stop doing Divestment Target, which they have been doing for many, many years, am I right? So why they did that, I don't know. So I did mention that. So if there cannot be, nothing can be called clearly black or white. We need to really look at what are the goods and what are the bads. No finance minister cannot please everyone. Remember in life, am I right? They need to really balance because there are challenges in terms of managing fiscal deficit. There are political compulsions. There are other compulsions that one need to basically and what is practically possible, that each and every finance minister will try to do that. So if you look at it today, I think, if you look at the new tax regime, I think it's a much better, of course, person like me will not go for it. I'll be very honest with you, okay? And I have reasons why I cannot go that. But the finance minister said 2/3 of the people have gone for new tax regime because it's very simple, easy to understand, easy to become, it reduces your compliance. You don't have to bother about submit 31st March तक अपने PPF का document और LIC का document or some other documents to the government and so on and so forth, to your employer or so on and so forth. So they did that actually. I think the more and more focus is coming on, like for example, reducing the assessment, of the employer. So you are basically very peaceful. कि वो 6 साल निकल गया, you are registered. वो अभी खोलने नहीं वाला है आपका, जो हो गया. That's a kind of a stuff. So I think, and if you look at this, this budget, I will not try to agree that it's negative for middle class or salaried. On the contrary, your standard deduction is increased from 50 to 75,000. your and most of this, Jacob sir, my understanding is that many of this employee in this would be in the bucket of less than 10 lakhs. Or when I was explaining you with that example, because आपका 10 lakh तक का income है, anyway you get 75,000 standard deduction, so your amount become 9.25 lakhs. And then basically इस पे tax करते तो आपको maximum 10%. So if you look at average, should be about 6-7% आएगा total tax of your total income, which is a fair tax, that to tax you should anyway pay, if you are making 10 lakhs or something. So I don't think it's so much negative. Now, but because to please you, should I say it's a bad budget? I will not be able to do that. Raj is saying, I would like to share a meme I saw on today's budget. It says, let me see if I can understand this budget. If I work, I have to give my money more tax to the government. But if I don't work, the government gives me others' money, freebies. What is your thought on this, Sunil bhai? So, see, I think everyone wants more money from the government. Am I right? Freebies. If that's the way we want to do it, then India cannot become a developed economy. See, we need to understand how do we find balance, And if you read, I think I wrote on my blog also that you need to basically find balance between inflation and growth. Both is not possible. Am I right? You can't basically have if you have a uncontrolled growth, eventually it will result in inflation. And if you have a high inflation, it will result in low growth kind of. So you have to basically balance. The same way government has to basically balance between the freebies and the tax, because otherwise that imbalance can create a long-term problem. And many times, unfortunately, we have all been habit of, we have lost our ability to think little medium term to long term. Everyone become a little short term, and I blame this purely based on this the digital adventure of this the advent of the digital, because of live TV where you can see the prices live, you can see your portfolio updates live, and so on and so forth. But that's really basically everyone has started looking very very short term. The moment you basically expand your horizon, this budget is basically laying a good foundation for the long-term growth and making India in the right direction to become the developed economy. Now, fortunately, there is one government which basically at least have an ambition to become a developed economy. All these years, we have always been struggling, and we were taking a pride that we are developing economy. We need to get more aid from the developed country and so on and so forth. I think this mindset is really good. Another mindset change is that basically we want to reduce the compliance. We want to begin. In fact, they did mention about that digitally the things will happen. It's happening on GST. It will happen on personal tax also. So I think more and more they want to bring in efficiency. I can't remember, and I'm telling you, previously I could not have imagined that I have filed my income tax return. In next 2 days, I'll get my refund. 2 days or 3 days, I don't know, maybe 6 days. So let me put it this way, I don't exactly recollect when was the income tax was filed and when I want to know from you people, those who are attending this webinar, how many people got the refund if they filed the income tax return. I'm giving it based on my personal experience. So that's the way we are moving into. अभी वो freebies का चक्कर में पड़ोगे, आपको टैक्स नहीं देना है, लेकिन we want to enjoy the best of the infrastructure, वो दोनों तो नहीं हो सकता ना. Someone has to fund the infrastructure, am I right? पैसा कहाँ से है गवर्नमेंट के पास? गवर्नमेंट नोट छापेगी, प्रिंटिंग प्रेस करेगी, तो it will spur the deficit, it will the inflation बढ़ेगा. So somewhere you need to find it. So I think it's a very very this one we need to now mature enough to understand what is good and what is not good for us. Just freebies giving looks very good in the short run, but eventually is going to create a lot of problem for every one of us. जिसको freebies मिल रही है उसके लिए भी problem होने वाला है, और जो उसको fund है उसके लिए भी problem होने वाला है. तो freebies basically does not basically it's not a panacea for anyone. It looks very good in the short run, but it's going to create a lot of problem in the medium to long term. And we have seen that happening in some of the countries which once upon a time doing extremely well and now running into a lot of problem. Chaitanya is saying 20,000 crores is coming in the market by of SIP every month. How can the market go down? Mutual funds are holding 8.5% cash, and every decline there is a big buyer waiting. Even if FI start buying, how can the market fall? Chaitanya sir, what you are saying is logically right. I understand what you are saying is logically right. So there is no dispute. What can market can decline? Only the market will give the answer. Sometimes had the reason been known, then it would have been factored by the market. Am I right? Then market would anyway corrected. When market falls, it falls because of unknown reason. It doesn't fall because of known reason. Was it known? It's already there, so it will not. Am I right? So I think what is that factor could be, I have no idea. Okay, but there will be some, because if you can't sustain this kind of a rich valuation. It's not me who is making a statement. I think if you look at the economic survey that mentioned that what is happening in the FNO side, that could be. So I think the one liquidity is driven by the retail investor also through an FNA also. Will that activity get curbed because of some government measures coming in? Will that deter? Maybe answer, maybe yes. So I don't know what will come and where it will come from. But it will definitely come, that for sure, because we can't sustain this kind of a rich valuation forever. No, I think service tax is part of a GST. So whatever the service tax which is there, I think that's what the number says, 76% decline. It's a very nominal number. So service tax revenue as a percentage of total is very nominal amount. If I can tell you that apna service tax, okay, just to give you a number, the 2023-2024, the amount was only 424 crore. 424 crore khali rupiah, which will come down to 100 crore. So this service tax, basically don't get confused that a lot of service tax got subsumed into the GST. So in absolute value, it's hardly anything. It's a decimal error in the government budget. Why I'm saying so? Because the gross tax revenue of India is near about 38 lakh crore. 38 lakh crore में 100 crore कोई मायने नहीं रखता. Vidyut Banerjee, does the new tax regime allow deduction for donation and ATG? If no, then ATG donation quantum is bound to fall, isn't it? So Vidyut sir, I am not a technically sound person to give you an answer whether ATG is allowed under this. Maybe if any chartered account, practice chartered account, maybe they can basically clarify. My sense is not allowed. If you want to claim ATG, I don't think it's allowed in the new tax regime. But that's my understanding. I could be wrong. I'm not a practicing chartered accountant. Even though I'm a chartered accountant, I have to stop practicing. To the best of my knowledge, you cannot claim ATG. Will the quantum will decline? Maybe decline, but how does it matter? I don't understand that actually. I don't see. And if someone is basically doing donation to claim ATG, I think that's also a wrong attitude only. Because you are doing donation for the good cause, and if you link that with the ATG, I think that's not a fair thing to do that. I'll tell you very honestly, I'm not boasting about it. I will never donate money for anyone just because, whether I'm getting ATG or not. In fact, on the contrary, I never claim also ATG, to be honest with you. Even if that institute may be having ATG, even though I don't claim it, because your reason to donation should be a little different. The objective should not never be the tax benefit. But I do understand there are many people who get and many times the donation is also made just for the income tax benefit, nothing else. But will it fall? Maybe it fall, but how does it matter? I don't think it's going to have a material impact.
Time is up.
Let's take two, three more questions, Amir, please. And did someone clarify on the ATG or this one? If you need, I can come back to you maybe tomorrow. Sundar Rajan is saying refund came in 2 days. Just see, this is a live example. I could not have imagined, to be very honest with you, कि आपको 2 दिन के अभी तो इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न सीजन चालू है. 31 जुलाई इज द लास्ट डे. उसके पहले रिफंड आने चलेगा इसी फाइनेंशियल ईयर का असेसमेंट ईयर का. इट्स कमेंडेबल. या थैंक्स अ लॉट सर कंफर्मिंग दैट. Narendra, will there be 1 lakh tax free up to 20th July and up to 1.5 lakh for long term? So, okay, I missed out on that. The long term capital gain, we all used to get, and someone asked me for middle income class, median. This is another one. The long term capital gain, which was exempted up to 1 lakh, which has been increased up to 1.25 lakhs. And that's for the financial year. So, I don't think they're going to differentiate between 23rd July and post 23rd July. For the full financial year, you will get 1.25 lakhs long term. So if your long term capital gain is 1.25 lakhs, you don't have to pay a single rupee as a tax as a long term capital gain. The moment it goes above 1.25 lakhs, then only you need to pay on that additional amount the 12.5%. On that additional amount. So for example, if your long term capital gain is 2 lakhs, then you first get 1.25 lakhs, that is not taxable. This 12.5% will be applicable only on 75,000. वो 2-3 सवाल ले लेते हैं. अमीर, आई नो यू आर इन अ रश, बट थोड़ा मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत लंबा चला ना. Rajendra, market record must be due to mutual fund investment, otherwise Nifty would have been lowered by 500 points, my view. Maybe you are right, sir. The only thing, whether this recovery gets sustained or not, we need to wait and watch in next 15 to 20 days. Ramesh is saying your bias towards BJP government is very clear. Instead of highlighting 80% negativity of the budget, you are focused on 20% positive in the budget. I am disappointed with your recent webinars. Sir, this is a democratic country. Everyone has a right to express their opinion, their views, their opinion. The way you are doing, I am doing. Just to come to conclusion that I am biased towards BJP is a very unfair comment. You may not like it. That's a very fair point. You did not like this webinar. Fair points. I appreciate your criticism. But this is the beauty about democracy. That you can criticize anyone and everyone without any fear. We may agree to disagree, but that's a part of life. Not necessarily that you should agree with all my points, am I right? I fully appreciate that. Pawan is saying, I think refunds below 1 lakh are settled 40 years. Longer amounts, me and my wife are awaiting for last 3 weeks. I think it could be Pawan, could be also a function of whether you have gone for the new tax regime or old tax regime. If you've gone for old tax regime, I believe it will take some time. But if you are saying it is more than 1 lakh, but still under you went for new tax regime, then I will be surprised. I don't think that would have happened. I think in new tax regime, the process become faster because there are no exemption being claimed by you. And hence the process become a little faster. But please correct me, Pawanji, whether you've gone for the old or the new tax regime. Samir Joshi saying, will the tax cash element increase in property transaction to reduce tax impact? Not really. Again I said, it's a function of what price you are selling. Now, what you are saying practically possible, जो बता रहे हो सकता है. I think one more thing the government wants to do is that reduce the stamp duty on the real estate. Now, I would have imagined if your stamp duty is higher, and hence people want to reduce the agreement value so that you pay less stamp duty. My sense is that on the contrary, and second thing, today a lot of people basically do take loan to buy the house, and it's in their interest. If no one will give you loan if you are paying a cash component, am I right? So basically, you will get loan only on the official amount agreement value. So I don't think that's going to increase the cash component in the property transaction. I don't think so. Praful Kala, I appreciate your insight. What should NRI do with the PMS investment? Thanks. Sir, continue to remain investor. There is nothing changed for the PMS investors. Enjoy the fruits of India going from developing economy to developed economy. So if you are an NRI customer, you are in US, continue to enjoy the fruits of India's growth. DK Singh, I think you have indexed the sale price instead of the purchase price. Actually, the purchase price would have go from 100 to 121. Have I made a mistake? Okay, let me just go back. That's a good thing. No, so can you just see my screen? Is it visible? So, sir, can you see my screen? Is it visible? Huh? Huh? No, sir. So you bought a house in 100 rupees in 2001, 2002. The cost of investment because of that become 363. So no, I've done with the cost price only, sir. Where did I did with the 300 rupees? No, I did not. So you go back, the cost of investment is available online. You can go through that and you will be available. No, I think the example, I don't think I made an error. NC Ramesan, Suneji, as per your rating, as mentioned about budget, have you anticipated some provision proposed except in the past case presented by FM truly, or otherwise you just justifying the action of government? As per your rating, as mentioned about the budget, have you anticipated the same provision proposed etc. as seen in the present case presented? So if you remember, and I did a webinar with our PMS customer last Friday, and I did mention about what are the expectations that I was expecting capital gain to be a tweak, and those who are our PMS customers would basically remember that presentation. I did mention that FNO, and I must again repeat, the action on FNO is not complete yet. We should expect more action coming in next week or month. It will come, whether we like it or not. I am not justifying any action of the government. Try to understand that. I'm just saying what was expected, what has happened. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say the government did right or wrong or this justifying. I'm saying I was expecting capital gain to tweak. In fact, I must tell you that I'm expecting capital gain to further increase. That's what I'm saying. And I've said that 12.5% is going to become 15%. If you look at the globally also, and in fact, I was reading one article, is mentioned the economy survey. So globally, not only India, there seems to be a consensus being formed across the world that capital gain tax has to increase on the equity. Globally, I'm talking about. Okay. Why? Because the inequality of income has increased substantially across the world. And how do we bridge that? One of the ways is to basically charge more on the capital gain. So that's going to increase. And in fact, to be honest with you, I do make a lot of capital gain. Am I right? I have to pay more taxes, but I'm not aggrieved. Logically, मेरे को तो दुखी होना चाहिए because मैं capital gain दे रहा हूँ. Am I right? But when I look at and see what is happening globally, I think it's fair kind of a tax that we have been asked to pay, isn't it? So that's what it happens. Today on my income tax, I basically pay 35-38% slab. At least I'm paying 10 has become 12.5. Still I'm paying little less tax on the long-term capital gain. And still I'm paying little less, little higher, or 20%, still lower than what my paying on my salary, am I right? Which I'm paying 37-38%. Here I'll anyway pay 20% only. So that's the way I will look at it actually. Last two questions, Amir, and then we'll conclude. I know you are in a hurry, but Dr. Satya Prabhakaran, sir, your webinars are unbiased and very neutral. Your calculation of future projection of Indian economic growth so far in picture is perfect. Your webinars are powerful, powerhouse of finance knowledge, condensed in 1 hour. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, Dr. Saab. And I think, as I said, sir, the way you have an opinion, others also have an opinion. I don't feel bad about anyone. Okay? This is a democratic country. People have a rights, and if you don't give me constructive feedback, which sometimes critical, it also helps me to reassess. If I'm going wrong, I can do course corrections. But thanks a lot, sir, for your compliment.
Sir, Ramesh is saying sorry.
No, you don't have to say sorry, sir. Why you have to say sorry, sir? As I told you, I don't feel bad actually. This is a democratic country. Everyone has the rights to express their opinion. Nothing to feel sorry, sir. No, you are not. Samir, sir, don't say sorry to me, sir. I don't think need sorry from. I don't want to hear any sorry from you. Please express it very freely. That's what I encourage people to do that, because that's what Markets Mojo stands for. In fact, we love criticism, but constructive criticism. Don't criticize just for the sake of criticism. And we're bound to have a different opinion because we are all two different human beings, am I right? So there's nothing wrong with having a difference of opinion. It's fair. In fact, if you come to the meeting also in our office, everyone has a free to express their opinion, whether Mohit, Joyson, Amit, our new CEO, our CTO, and so on and so forth. Everyone has an opinion. They are free to express. Once the meeting gets over, no one carry forward that outside, because ultimately when we reach a consensus, then everyone will be basically moving in that direction. So nothing wrong with that. Please, and don't hesitate to criticize me even in the future. Ramesh sir, I'm giving you that liberty. Last question, please. Sudeep is saying globally they get back in the form of education, health, retirement, pension. Here in India, what do you get? Nothing. You are right. And Sudeep sir, I agree with you. It's unfortunate, and I believe that if you read this government, the narratives time and again, they want to reward honest taxpayers. In what form this will going to get rewarded, I don't know. And if India has to move from developing to developed economy, I think one of the steps that we need to do is to give a benefit in terms of education, health, or maybe pension. And I think the way I'm reading the government, policy action, eventually it will come. Today it's not coming because we need to fund infrastructure, we need to fund a lot of other stuff also. So it's not happening. But I would not be surprised if I will be in front of you in 2034. I think Sudeep ji, आपने जो बोला है शायद कहीं ना कहीं उस डायरेक्शन में इंडियन गवर्नमेंट करने लगेगी, where they will give some benefits in some manner so that it will encourage people to be more honest in terms of the tax payment. I think the honesty will come in couple of things. One is when you reduce the slab rate, that's one way. Number one, you get see some benefit of that accruing to you in the later part of your life. Okay, so I think that, in fact, I'm saying, there should be some amount of, the way we have a reservation based on caste, based on religion, and so on and so forth. I'm saying there should be a reservation in terms of the taxpayer. Someone who pays higher taxes, they should get some amount of reservation. They should get some of a quota. Why? Because that will encourage more people to become honest, pay more taxes, and get that. That's the way it should be actually. So I'm saying that's the way also you can reward someone to be basically this, because you are right, you are getting nothing today. The only thing you are getting basically by paying tax is that you are enjoying better infrastructure. But now you said, वो तो मैं भी enjoy कर रहा हूँ और जो नहीं पे कर रहा है उसको भी enjoy कर रहा है. That's a fair point. But that's the way the life works, sir. We can't have an equation कि एक रुपया दिया तो एक रुपया उसका output होना चाहिए. That's not the way it works. Am I right? But Sudeep ji, your point is right. I think it's a work in progress. It will happen. Hopefully by 2034, we would have covered substantial ground in that direction. With this, thanks a lot everyone for having patient listening and listening to some of my nonsense maybe. But that's the way I am actually. I'll express what I feel is right. Again, tomorrow we have a webinar from our group CEO Amit Golia. Am I right?
Yes.
Stock of the week. Okay. Is it releasing? No, I don't think it will be releasing. But again, it's a webinar on stock of the week. I am in front of you on Friday with Q&A with Sunil Damania. For some reason, if I am not able to take up your question, please come and ask that question. I'll be more than happy to answer that. Good night. Take care. Budget event is over. Market will go back to the fundamentals, and that's where the direction of the market will be. Take care.